This is Megzobo69 with Take the Red Pill. I received a pretty long email today, and it had to do with an individual's understanding, I guess, of atheism. And so I wanted to address some of these things because it seemed as though what this individual posted, there were a lot of things that were not correct. Whether it's their misunderstanding or not, I don't know, or whether it's their belief, again, I have no idea. But nevertheless, I want to address it. Now, this email that I got sent was a long email. When I copy and pasted it onto the Word document, it was 18 pages long. As you can imagine, I was reading for quite some time. But what I did is I grabbed some of the things on there, just the things I wanted to mainly address, excuse me, and talk about them. Now, the reason I'm looking down is because I'm looking at my sheet. This is not a cue card. This is the things that I just want to address, and I wrote them down so that way I can look down and just kind of quote some of the things I read and then address them. So I'm going to go with the first one. Oh, before I do, let me say this. When I talk about a religious group, whether I say Christian, Hindus, Muslim, whatever the case may be, I'm not generalizing on people. What I'm saying is, from my experience and from what I've seen and heard, this is what, I'm going to talk. This is how I talk, okay? And I just want to put this disclaimer out because, I've heard some people say, Muslims are terrorists, and that's not true. Just because you have a few crazy people who crash into a building or blew up, embassy or whatever the case is, that doesn't mean all of them are like that. So again, like I said, I just want to let you know that's my disclaimer, and I'm not generalizing. So anyway, the first one is this. Atheism has no ethical morality attached to it, yet it claims that, quote, atheists are good without God, unquote. And then in parentheses, they put internally contradictory, non-coherent. So here's the deal. I'm going to talk about my morality, or how I see morality, and I'm sure there are others who are like me, who in the way of thinking, whether they are theists or not. And so here's pretty much how it boils down to. Okay, I get my moral limits from a rational consideration of the consequences of my actions. I also get them from a foundation that says that my actions have an effect on people around me, and people around me, their actions, have an effect on me. So if we're going to live cooperatively together, we need to recognize the impact of those actions. And as a result, I just don't have a right to impose my will upon other people. Basically, I get my morality from an understanding of reality and not from an assertion of authority. Now, what I mean by that, this assertion of authority, a lot of people have said you can't be moral without God. Well, I just kind of explained to you how I get my morals. And again, it's not an assertion of authority. It's from what I recognize, okay, and my observations. Now, here's another interesting thing that this person posted, and this one was kind of funny to me. The person put atheism is a religion, and they put "is" in cap locks. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I copy and pasted the definition of religion to see if atheism falls under those premises. So, number one, religion is a set of beliefs concerning the cause, nature, and purpose of the universe, especially when considered as the creation of a superhuman agency or agencies, usually involving devotional and ritual observances, and often containing a moral code governing the conduct of human affairs. Number two, a specific fundamental set of beliefs and practices generally agreed upon by a number of persons or sect. Number three, the body of persons adhering to a particular set of beliefs and practices. Number four, the life or state of a monk, nun, etc. Number 5, the practice of religious beliefs. ritual, observance, or faith. Now, why did I keep stressing on beliefs? Here's why. Well, let me get to another one, and then I will answer that question. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to answer that one. Why did I stress on beliefs? The individual, they posted the definition of an atheist. And, right, I'm going to read it. They posted the definition of atheist, a person who denies or disbelieves the existence of a supreme being or beings. A person who denies or disbelieves. So how can you have a belief in the existence of any deity or supernatural being or beings if you disbelieve the existence of it in the first place? Contradictory, isn't it? Yeah. And so it's funny that this person would turn around and say atheism is a religion when I just gave you the definition, the 5 definitions of religion, and yet it seems to be totally in opposition to what an atheist is. So let me go down to the next point, something else that they put. This person put, even in the more sophisticated atheist works, there is a tendency to replace argument with basically name-calling. Therefore, faith is irrational and antiquated religious belief, mythology, or fairy tales. Now, the last sentence was, of course, I guess what an example of what he was given that others were saying that religion is. Now, here's the one thing I will say. If this person has encountered atheists that use a lot of name-calling, also known as ad hominem, that is very unfortunate, and I'm not going to apologize for other people's actions because I'm not the one that's doing them. I don't condone that either, though. If whatever it is, whether it's religion or not religion, if you disagree with something, then you need to stick with the topic, not attack the individual. However, I will say this. In my discussions with other theists, I have encountered many that when I turn around and I say, well, what they're telling me sounds like a fairy tale, they all of a sudden get offended and think I'm attacking them. And no, I'm not. I'm not attacking the individual. I am attacking the statement or the belief. Now, if somebody feels like they're being personally attacked because somebody's saying that they do not agree with their system of beliefs, then that's a different story. And, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but that individual needs to grow up pretty much and recognize that they are not being attacked. That what it is that they believe, the subject or topic at hand is what is being attacked, not them. Okay. So, but again, I will say this though. I mean, I'm sorry for anybody, and I'm not apologizing, but I'm saying I'm sorry for anybody who's encountering a theist or somebody who opposes their views, and that person is attacking them. Because again, it should never be that way. We should be, as adults, we should be able to have logical arguments. And when I say arguments, I don't mean verbal fights. I mean arguments. We should be able to have arguments or debates, however you want to look at them, without personally attacking the other person. That's just my opinion. So, here's something else that the person posted again. How can you logically state that you are an atheist if you do not know the entirety of the universe and all aspects of it to conclude to calling yourself... Okay, I'm going to start that over again because apparently I'm not reading it coherently. How can you logically state that you are an atheist if you do not know the entirety of the universe and all aspects of it to conclude to calling yourself an atheist, which is the denial or disbelief of God's existence? Okay, so let me dissect that a little bit. How can you logically state that you are an atheist if you do not know the entirety of the universe? You don't need to know the entirety of the universe. You don't need to know everything to to not believe something. It's like this. If I turn around right now and I said I can jump up and land 2 blocks away, more than likely somebody's going to turn around and say, I don't believe you can do it. That doesn't mean that they're saying they believe I cannot do it, and nor are they saying that they have to know everything about me in order to believe it. Or they don't have to know everything about me in order to disbelieve it. That doesn't make sense. I'm the one making the claim that I can jump and land 2 blocks away, then the burden of proof is on me to either demonstrate I can do it, or to show statistical evidence that I can do it, or something. The burden of proof, bottom line, is on me to prove that I can do it. The burden of proof is not on the other individual who's saying I don't believe you. That's what you call shifting the burden of proof. So, again, you don't need to know everything in the universe to deny the existence of a deity. Because again, all the atheists are saying is, I don't believe the existence of a deity, of God, whatever you want to call it, because I haven't been given enough evidence. That's it. Okay? And like I stated in one of my other videos, saying you do not believe in something is not saying you believe that it is not true. Just keep that in mind. Now, here's another one that was pretty funny. He said, by calling yourself an atheist, you are basically claiming that there is no God. An atheist denies or disbelieves God, in a God. I mean, this individual turned around and put the definition of what an atheist is. But then he said, by calling yourself an atheist, you are basically claiming that there is no God. To claim that there is no God, that sounds a little bit more like agnostic, not really atheist. Again, just because, let's see, deny, disbelieve, okay. Yeah, again, just because I turn around, or anybody for that matter would turn around and say, I don't believe your claim, that doesn't mean they're saying I believe your claim is false. That's far from it. They're just saying, I don't believe it, but there is a possibility that it could be true. But since it can't be proven that it is true, then I have no need to believe it. Or no reason to believe it anyway. So, again, that's a fallacy that I've heard from so many theists. I've turned around and I've asked them, well, why should I believe what you're telling me? And because they turn around and they give so many things as to, oh yeah, God exists and God is this and that. So when I ask for proof, they turn around and try to shift it and say, well, why don't you prove God doesn't exist? And here's the funny thing about it. Not once in my life, not once have I ever said God does not exist. That's making a claim. Now, if I turn around and say God does not exist, then the question that they would ask of, well, prove that God doesn't exist. Now I would have to come up with some evidence. But I never make that claim. And I'm not sure, I mean, there may be there may be atheists out there who come out with claims like that. Oh, I know that God does not exist. But then that's not just simply an atheist. That's like an agnostic atheist. Okay, so there is a slight difference. All right. But in its pure basic form, an atheist will simply say, I do not believe. It is that simple. There's nothing more to it than that. I just simply don't believe. Okay? If you can provide proof and show me, then fine. But other than that, don't expect me to believe something I don't have proof of. Again, that's simple. So let me move on to the next one. Oh, this one was good. The individual said, if you conclude that you do not believe in a God without evidence that one does not exist, then you are simply operating on faith. Being that it is without evidence, it is blind faith. Now, that is seriously what I call shifting the burden of proof. Faith is believing in something when you don't have evidence. Saying that you are an atheist and that you don't believe, that has nothing to do with faith. That's the exact opposite. That's not believing something. It's not believing something. That's what atheism is all about, not believing. So, you know, I get that a lot. People shifting the burden of proof and saying, okay, well, you're operating on, you must have faith if you're an atheist. Well, that's not true. Not at all. I don't have faith. I don't have faith in a God. It's just that simple. So they go on to say this. Many atheists claim that having faith is not sane, yet they hold blind faith that the position they hold is true. Atheists, on the other hand, have no evidence that the position they hold is valid and are going on blind faith, which many of them hypocritically complain about or ridicule people for. And as you can see, some of this is the same thing as what I was stating above, or excuse me, what this person stated right now, what I just read, is some of the same thing that was stated again earlier. And that's the reason I said at the beginning of the video that there were many things that just seemed to be repetitive, but they were just simply put in a different way. So let me break this one down a little bit again. It says many atheists claim that having faith is not sane, yet they hold blind faith that the position they hold is true. So you're saying that, so the person is saying that the atheists hold blind faith to their position that it is true? Come on. Really? No. Look, again, saying that you do not believe in something, yeah, it's a position. I will agree with that. Or I guess you could call it a position. But then, it's not faith in that position. You're just saying, look, I don't believe this. That's it. That's not faith. There's anytime somebody, if I turn around and tell you again, I can jump a tall building in a single bound, you are probably going to turn around and say, I don't believe that. Okay? That's not having faith. That's quite opposite. You don't have faith in what I'm saying. You don't believe what I'm saying because you would require evidence of that. You would require proof. Okay? So pretty much what he's coming out and saying is that, you know, that atheists are hypocrites for saying that people have faith, or ridiculing people for having faith, yet their position that they don't believe is a position of faith, and there's blind faith on top of it. Enough said on that one. I'm not going to hammer that one because, again, that's just repetitive of, you know, what they've been saying before and what I got, how I, you know, not how I come back at it, but pretty much the truth of the matter of things. So here's another one. Here's the last one I'm going to touch on. Atheists ask human beings for evidence of a God that we have no control over. This is a trick and not rational nor logical to ask, excuse me. It is only a setup to evade any discussions otherwise as to determine logically if it is possible for a God to exist. It is a final, inconclusive, illogical formality in the prejudiced mind of an atheist. Okay, so atheists ask human beings for evidence of a God that we have no control over. Kind of. Yes and no. Well, let me explain. Like I've said before, an extraordinary claim requires extraordinary evidence or proof. And the thing is, if you're telling me that there's supernatural being in the sky who can do all these supernatural things, then where's the supernatural proof of these things? I'm not turning around and saying, why don't you go get God? I mean, if they're telling me that they have no control over this God, so they cannot provide proof of it, okay. But here's the thing. Excuse me for a second. Sorry, allergies. Here's the thing. If God really did exist, and if he's all powerful and all knowing as some claim, here's what I think probably would resolve a lot of issues. Because it seems as though, excuse me, it seems as though what he did is, according to theists, create the earth. Now, all of a sudden, that's it. We don't see him, nothing. Nobody has seen him. And so it would seem almost like to squash all this negativity or all this doubt, he would just appear and say, here I am. I believe that would be proof to everybody that he does exist, whether you are a theist or not. But no, all we have are just books that are making claims, like the Bible, that he exists. The funny thing about it is, there are a lot of things that are supposedly moral and ethical about this God that's being claimed about him anyway, but I will address that issue a little bit later because I can point to the opposite of that in the very book that they believe in. But the bottom line is this. This is a claim of an invisible individual or thing or being, whatever you want to call it, that's supposed to be all powerful, all knowing, just, you know, next best thing since cheese bread. Yet, what evidence do we have for this being? None whatsoever that I know of so far. And yeah, people will turn around and say, you know, what's the cause of the universe? You know, that, you know, it cannot come from nothing. Well, that's another argument that we can take up another time as well. But the bottom line is this. You can ask questions all you want, all day long, and it's going to come down to still the same thing. Where is the evidence of this claim that you are claiming, that God exists? If you can provide that evidence, fine. If you cannot provide that evidence, then why do you expect us, or me, or anybody else for that matter, to believe it, to believe this claim? That's nonsense. Apart from religion, normally nobody believes something without proof, especially if it's something that seems to be an extraordinary claim. So these are questions that I have, these are questions I have about these type of claims that people make. You know, trying to believe something, trying to make me believe something. For what? For no reason. With no evidence? I don't think so. I'm not an idiot. And a lot of people in this world are not. Now, here's the thing. There is one other thing that this individual posted, and I did not write it down here, but it just came to my mind. He posted and said something to the effect of, and I'm gonna have to just phrase it as best I can because I don't remember it verbatim. But he said something to the effect of, you know, atheists come and make fraudulent claims that in which believers walk away from their faith. Well, I guess here is my question. If these people actually believed what they did, truly believed that is, then whatever else somebody would say should not have deterred them away. So I guess the question is, did they really truly believe as strongly as they claimed they believed in the first place? Just saying. So anyway, again, like I said, I just want to simply address these things that were on the email. And for the individual who wrote them, I'm sure that he will see this video. I'm not calling him out by any means. I'm not calling you out. I was just simply addressing these issues because these are things I've heard from others as well. So, like I said, I just want to put it out there and address it. Now, here's the one thing I will say. If anybody has anything to discuss / debate with me on anything that I post or that I say, if it's going to be something very long, let's do it in a forum like, you know, Skype or Google Plus or something to that effect. Because I am not going to continually take the time to read 18 pages, you know, of repetitive stuff. I'm just not going to do it. So, like I said, if somebody wants to talk to me, I'm always open to discuss and debate things with people. Because here's the thing, I'm not going to claim I'm always right. What I will tell you is that I know I have questions that probably a lot of people cannot answer, and I will be using a lot of logic and reasoning. And it's not precisely from the standpoint of science either, just simple logic and reasoning. I find that a lot of times that does trump what people believe. It puts questions in a certain perspective to where a lot of times they just cannot answer. So anyway, fellow everybody, until next time, this is Megzobo69 with Take the Red Pill, signing out. You have a nice night.